No, I'll still talk about that as well. But let me put it this way. First, in Hashi, it's not true that Ruto did not want devolution. We were all debating kind of federalism that we wanted to have. For Kibaki, he wanted 2 tiers. For Ruto, he wanted devolution at that time, if I can remember very well, but with with larger units than the counties that we have. So the debate was basically the size of devolution, but among Kenyans, it was accepted. I would also want to say that the concept of devolution actually came from the late George Saitoti, and it was born in Naivasha. I remember it's one of the hotels, when it became very clear to the Kibaki administration that the issue of Majimbo, as debated now, is going to destroy the country. And therefore, somebody had to change gear. And the gear was changed to the extent that PNU that time accepted Majimbo as one of its policies. And that basically forced Kenyans to debate, what kind of Majimbo do you want? And that, I remember it is Frederick Ebert Foundation that funded myself to do a small book called Shades of Federalism. And the shades of federalism enabled us to debate as Kenyans. So I remember when Kibaki was instructing Kibuda Kibwana, Stephen Jiru, and myself as the think tank that was going to Naivasha, he said, I just want 2 tiers of devolution, devolution, because that is what Kenya can afford. Because people were also considering 3 tiers. Others were considered, and if you look at the proposition of that time. But the most important thing for me is the logic that drove the devolution. The logic was a move from politics, particularly the politics of the time which were ethnic. That we want balkanization of ethnic groups. If you listen to the debate by some people from the Rift Valley coast and others, to now more development-centered units. So units, 47 units as they are today, and I want to underline this, are a viable economic unit. The county of Murang'a is the same as Mauritius in terms of population and land size. And therefore, there is no reason why economically Murang'a cannot stand. Nakuru is even bigger than many other countries in the world. Take, for example, Djibouti and others. They are surviving. So from an economic perspective, these units can survive. At the same time, the logic was not just devolution, devolving resources from the top. It was the argument that, one, development is freedom. If you remember Amartya Sen, development is freedom. So instead of us talking about liberation of these groups, this ethnic group is marginalized, this other one. You remember the debate 2007 was about ethnic marginalization, so-called historical marginalization. Instead of dealing with these issues, why don't we get our freedoms as communities collectively from devolution? But it was also meant to uplift the corners of our country which had been left behind so that they can support the rest of the country. What did that mean? It meant that resources must not always come from the center. And this is the problem. And we have to shift the axis of debate from which county is receiving more to which county is producing more. And when we shift that debate, then we get to what was the intended purpose of devolution. Devolution is supposed to pay for itself, not paid for by the central government. You need to pay your salaries for all your workers. You need to pay your overheads for all your expenditures locally, and then you use resources from the central government as for development, right? But now what you see is that we have governors who are totally dependent on what comes from the center. They don't even think about, for example, in 1977, I can recall very well, Murang'a had such a surplus income to the point that they could rent, I think it's Nakuru, even told, I don't know whether it's gossip, that could even rent Tanzania because it was success. The chairman, Kirago Itongu, that time, could pay bursaries for everybody, including James Mwangi of Equity. He could pay bursaries for anybody who was identified as needy by the councillors of the time. So meaning, there must come a time when the